Hey, everybody. Tonight, we were going to take a walk down memory lane and go through Warrant's Cherry Pie. Hence the shirt, the album. I'm going to go through this record. Tell you what I really think about it. Coming up next. Warrant's Cherry Pie was released on 9/11/1990, and it was produced by Bo Hill. It had 4 singles off the record: Cherry Pie, Uncle Tom's Cabin, I Saw Red, and Blind Faith. Not necessarily in that order, but uh, and supposedly, there was ghost musicians on this record too. If Mike Slamer was still involved, I don't know. And really could care less. I've seen Warrant live; they're great musicians, and I could care less if there was ghost rider or not ghost riders, but ghost musicians that played solos and things like that. Who cares? But supposedly, okay, so this is the record, and you can see all the VH1 specials with Jani and all of that. Um, that brought down the 80's, even though it was released in 1990. Brought down the hair bands, I guess you could say. I'm calling 100% horseshit on that because there was a lot of C tier bands that started coming out in 91, 92, a little later than that was just copying the formula. Yes, you had your Van Halens, your Rats, and Motley Crue. That was the first big wave, and then you had your Poisons and your Cinderellas, Warrant, Skid Row, which would be, I guess, your second waves, and Warrant was a fantastic band. I mean, they had the looks, they had the sound, they had all of that stuff. But going back to this record, so I had seen Warrant on the Dr. Feelgood tour, and they were still touring to support Dirty, Rotten, Filthy, Stinking Rich, and they put on a fantastic show, and they come out, and Jani was like, "This is a new song. This is going to be on our next record, and our next record is called Vertical Smiles, and this is going to be the first single." And it was Uncle Tom's Cabin, and everybody was just blown away. I was like, "Wow, this is a new Warrant song," and it was amazing. And so that was sort of the end of the tour, and of course Warrant went away and started recording this second record. Well, they had it done, and there's no secret about any of this. I mean, it's been documented several times, so I'm just going to document it again. But the president of Columbia Records came to Jani and was like, they listened to that record in a whole, and they told Jani, "Hey, we don't hear a single like Love in the Elevator or Pour Some Sugar on Me, the sex and, the very popular tongue in cheek and all of that." So Jani went home, wrote it on a pizza box, and in 15 minutes, he had wrote Warrant Cherry Pie. The next day, they went in, they recorded it, they sent it over to, I can't remember the guy's name that was over Columbia at the time, but sent it over to him, and all of a sudden, like I said, they had said that they was going to name the album Vertical Smiles when I had seen them, which I think is a catchy title. But then also they said they was going to name then I started seeing releases and interviews and things like that. They was going to call the album Uncle Tom's Cabin. And just overnight, everything became Cherry Pie. They loved it. They thought it was the best thing ever, and Jani's been on records. everything. The album turned into cherry pie. Jani was doing cherry pie eating contest, and everything was cherry pie. The video came out with Bobby Brown, it went, phew. And going back to that again, every Saturday night, when we was running around in school, well, of course, I just got out of school, but, on Saturday nights, we always went home at 10:30 to 11 or whatever it was and watch Headbangers Ball. Well, for some reason, I didn't go home that night. And about midnight, a good friend of mine, actually, it was Doug McDonald, he'd come up and he's like, dude, seen Warrant's new video on Headbangers Ball tonight. And I was like, oh, cool, man, Uncle Tom's Cabin. I bet it's awesome. He goes, wasn't Uncle Tom's Cabin? And I was like, huh? He's like, cherry pie. And I said, cherry pie? What's that? He goes, that was the new song. He said, it's really good. He said, it's got a hot chick in it, So, of course, I always had it set to record on VHS back in those days. And I went home and I watched it, and I loved it. I thought it was great. Tongue in cheek. Yeah, it fit exactly in that time. And it exploded. Warrant got the opening slot that year for the Poison tour, the Poison Flesh and Blood tour, and they was opening for that with Cherry Pie. I seen that in Nashville, and they played a lot off that record, and so I think Jani and Brett might have had a falling out or something, but all of a sudden Warrant was off that tour. And then they had sold enough records that they went on their own tour, a headlining tour, because, they was huge at that time. Interesting side note, when Warrant was opening for Poison on the Flesh and Blood tour, their second single was I Saw Red. And they had already, I think, no, I take that back. They had not. So I Saw Red video was shot here in Nashville down at the train station. I can't remember. Oh my gosh, my wife's going to kill me. It's where we stayed on our honeymoon. Union Station. So I think they filmed the video to I Saw Red in Union Station. And then they also filmed an acoustic version for that video. And it's in Nashville at a cemetery in Nashville. And there's a guy, and I want to reach out to him too. But there's a guy in Nashville that done a tour of the cemetery, and he is showing where Jani played the acoustic guitar and all of that on the acoustic version. So they made two videos. It was either the day before or the day after in Nashville, the night that they played and opened up for Poison. So that's a cool little fact. Warrant at the time was firing on all cylinders. And so they done the Warrant, Trickster, and Firehouse tour. And they came to Starwood Amphitheater in Nashville, and we was lucky. Some friends of mine, Chuck, Tony Hill, there's a bunch of us. They had front row, and I think I had third row. I was right behind them, like 2 rows. I caught a Stephen Sweet drumstick, and that's when they opened up the show. They opened it up with Inside Out, which was also a new song that would later be on the third record, Dog Eat Dog. But at that time, Warrant was huge. That show became a pay-per-view, not the show in Nashville that I saw. I think the pay-per-view was in maybe Louisiana, I think it was. And it's practically the same show. And we all bought it and watched it. I've got it recorded on VHS. Of course, it's on YouTube. It was amazing. And everybody went to that show. It was packed. It was a great show. But, Warrant was hitting on all cylinders. So I think the record ended up selling about 2 million copies. I know it went double platinum. I think it went to I've got it on my phone. I think I seen it later, but I think it ended up going to number 8. I don't know the chart positions of Cherry Pie, Uncle Tom's Cabin, or I Saw Red, or Blind Faith. I know Blind Faith wasn't the home run that they thought it would be, even though that's me and my wife Lori's song. It's played at our wedding. And later on, we got to meet Jani, and there's a picture, I think, here of me and my wife and Jani. And we was telling him about that was our song that was played at our wedding. So he got to see that, and or get to see it. We told him about it, and he took interest, and it was awesome. So everybody knows Jani is a hero of mine. His lyrical content was amazing. I've even got Song and Dance Man tattooed on my arm. I've got JL tattooed on my arm. I got Stronger Now on my wrist. I mean, Jani meant the world to me. His lyrics spoke to me. Not necessarily Cherry Pie, but, you know, looking back on the record, and, you know, if there's a song I skip, it's usually Cherry Pie, you know, but so let's go through this right quick. Let's go through the songs. So this is an original vinyl. As you can see, it was a walloping $8.99. It's got the original hype sticker, back cover, and open it up. Of course, it's seen a little bit better days, but there's the inside cover, and the credits and all that good stuff. Originally on black vinyl, Columbia. Yeah, it's pretty sweet. But so, of course, it opens up with Cherry Pie, and that was written by Jani Lane. Uncle Tom's Cabin was written by Jani Lane. Side note, Jani's brother Eric played the intro to that song. He was an amazing guitar player. I've actually chatted with Eric several times on Facebook. Not recently, but after his brother passed, I reached out to him and gave him my condolences for losing Jani and John Patrick Oswald. And he was super nice. He replied to me. We had 2 or 3 back and forth messages. Very, very, very sweet of him to reply. And I told him that, I was a drummer and, I wasn't a guitar player, and that I'd met his brother on several occasions. And his brother meant the world to me. And it was because of his lyrical content, of how he could paint a picture with words. And Eric was a super nice guy, and I appreciate him responding to my messages. Track number 3, I Saw Red. So I Saw Red is a fantastic song. It has so much emotion. It's up and down and up and down. And when Jani's mad, you can tell he's mad, and it's fantastic. And supposedly this was written back when they done the first record, not Dog Eat Dog, but Dirty Rotten Filthy Stinking Rich. And Jani walked in and caught his girlfriend at the time in bed with his best friend. And hate that happened, but damn, did it produce a fantastic song. Track 4, Bed of Roses, written by Jani Lane, and it looks like a co-writing with Beau Hill. Did not know that. Another fantastic song, Desiree. I think that was the girl's name of the song, Desiree, and I always loved that name, and that was good. Sure Feels Good to Me, an up-tempo rocker. Also, some songwriting credits that I did not know. Jani Lane, D Stagg, J.B. Frank. I did not know that. Side 2, Love in Stereo, Jani Lane. Track number 2 on side 2, Blind Faith, Jani Lane. Track number 3, Song and Dance Man, Jani Lane. Like I said, got that tattooed on my arm. He was the Song and Dance Man. Track number 4, Jani Lane, You're the Only Hell Your Mama Ever Raised. Track number 5, Mr. Rainmaker, Jani Lane. Track number 6, Train Train, and that was a cover song, and that was Medlock, Ricky Medlock. Was that what his name was, Ricky Medlock? And Blackfoot. And then track 7 was Ode to Tipper Gore, and that was credited to the band Warrant. And all that is outtakes from Dirty Rotten Filthy Stinking Rich Live of every time that they said the word fuck, and hence Ode to Tipper Gore. So at this time, Tipper Gore was putting all of the parental advisories and all of this, if you had, dirty lyrics or profanity and all of that stuff. So that's where that come from. And so Jani he didn't write a song, but Jani put that in a record as a ode to Tipper Gore. If you're going to, and that used to be what they said. If you had a parental advisory on your record, boom, all of a sudden you sold another 500,000 copies. So pretty cool. I don't know if my volume is getting louder or something's a little different, and I can hear something. Anyways, sorry if it's bothering you guys. It's sort of bothering me through my headset, but later on, Warrant come out with another version, and it's got all the inside credits like the other one. And it came out on, guess what? Cherry Red. Go figure, right? And that was pretty cool. And that was released in 2018. And, and I keep... The songs on this record was a natural progression from the first record to the second record. Is it my favorite Warrant album? No. Is it one I listen to a lot? Yeah, still, but I don't listen to Cherry Pie that much. It sort of played its course. I think Jani was a much more proficient songwriter than Cherry Pie. And, but on the flip side, Uncle Tom's Cabin was beautifully written. I Saw Red, Bed of Roses. Sure Feels Good to Me. Yeah, that might be my least favorite on the record. Love in Stereo, it's about a, two girls, one guy type thing. Love in Stereo. Blind Faith, amazing. Song and Dance Man, amazing. You're the Only Hell Your Mama Ever Raised. I love it. It's very catchy, very tongue-in-cheek. Mr. Rainmaker, fantastic. Train Train. Like I said, the cover, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I would have probably, they kicked off a song, and that song was called Thin Disguise. And they kicked that off the record to make room for Cherry Pie. Hence, everything was Cherry Pie. But that was a damn shame. Thin Disguise is one of my all-time favorite Warrant songs. It eventually come out, on extra tracks on the CD. They've done a bonus version. It always made the rounds. It might even been side B of a single. I cannot remember that. But Cherry Pie was a Cherry Pie, sorry. Thin Disguise was amazing. Like I said, one of my favorite Warrant songs. It's a damn shame that it wasn't on the record. As much as I like the tongue-in-cheek of Ode to Tipper Gore, I'd much rather had Thin Disguise on there. Or, maybe if they even, kicked off Sure Feels Good to Me and put Thin Disguise on there. Either which way, Thin Disguise should have been on that record. And so there's been discussions, about Jani and Jani said how he hated Cherry Pie. He should have never written Cherry Pie. Every time he thinks he could shoot himself in the head, and you know, he was just very frustrated because he's so much more than cherry pie, and but that's what he's remembered for was cherry pie. You know, it was in every strip club in America at the time. It was on MTV constantly. Made him a lot of money. So you know, you sort of have to take the good with the bad. But yeah, it's you know, and Jani said, so we're the band that brought down the 80s. That's bullshit. You know, that's like I said, they wasn't the band that brought down the 80s. The 80s got, you know, hair bands got watered down quite a bit after the Cinderellas and the Skid Rows and the Warrants, which, you know, was sort of the second tiers. You know, then you started getting into, you know, I'm not going to call out band names because I actually liked a lot of that, but yeah, it did get watered down, and you know, and in come the grunge, and I could care less about the grunge. You know, it had its moments. I love Alice in Chains. I love STP. You know, Pearl Jam. They had their moments, but you know. I'm not a big fan of Eddie Vedder, and Nirvana I was never a big fan of, even though I did like Dave Grohl and the Foo Fighters and that kind of stuff. I did like that, but that was, you know, Nirvana did have their moments, but no, Cherry Pie didn't bring down the 80s. You know, if anything, it was the record producers or executives trying to get everybody that sounded like Warrant and Skid Row and Poison and Bon Jovi, you know, and it just kept going down the line. And every time it went down the line, it got watered down, you know. Not saying that some of those bands didn't produce some good stuff, because they did, but, you know, it got watered down. So, but all in all, I think Cherry Pie was a good record. You know, it does have some great songs on it. It's not my favorite Warrant album. However, it's got some of my favorite all-time songs. And like I said, Thin Disguise is not even on it, but should have been on it. Song and Dance Man, Mr. Rainmaker, Uncle Tom's Cabin, I Saw Red, Blind Faith. Just things that keeps popping in my head. All of those are classic Warrant songs that I love. And so I just wanted to jump on here and sort of do a half-assed review of this record. And, you know, everybody's heard it. If you've not heard it, you've been living under a rock, or you're under the age of 30, maybe. I don't know. But, you know, my grandkids, I think, has heard Cherry Pie, but they live with me, so they hear Warren all the time. So, I'm trying to think if there's anything else, you know, like I said, you know, Jani's not really suddenly, but sadly passed away in 2011. You know, I think his death was acute alcohol poisoning, and Jani had his demons, and we're not going to go into that. I'm going to put a link. I done an interview with a good friend of mine, brother Anthony, the hair metal guru. I'll put a link to the interview I done. We was talking about our times with Jani, and he's got a fantastic video about Jani's life. And then he done an interview with me, and I had reached out to him, and I was like, dude, your stories are just you know, a replica of my stories. And I thought he was a great guy. He is a great guy. And so I put a link to his original Jani video, and then the link to the show me and him done together in here. And check his channel out, the Hair Metal Guru on YouTube. He's blowing up. Well, he's done blown up. I mean, he's doing interviews with some big names. I'm especially so proud of him because his Ricky Rocket interview, which is another one of my heroes, is already in 40,000 views or something like that. So yeah, he's doing great. So if you like that kind of content, you like my content, please go check out the Guru. He's awesome. So that's sort of my hit and miss on Cherry Pie. I know it's sort of scrambled. This is sort of I'm trying to film, several videos a week. Put them into storage and bounce them out one at a time here and there. That way, my channel still stays active, and you guys can check it out and watch it. Once again, thank you so much for watching. I love doing this. It's awesome. I love it. Like, subscribe, do the little thing that's in the corner there. Like, subscribe my channel. Leave a comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts. But like I said, try to end every episode. Don't be a dick. Be good to your family, your friends. And like I said, be nice until it's time to not be nice. Thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. And God bless each and every one of you guys. And peace. We'll see you next time.